Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Oh my gosh, we are still going through exam series, and today I have an exciting guest. I've been telling everyone who is on the Novel or WhatsApp group that I do have someone who will help you with the subject that you've been struggling with, especially the undergrads, and that is management accounting. And I'm sure you clicked on this video because you saw that we're discussing all things management accounting. So if you are new here, please subscribe. My name is Zanele Madonna. I am from Novalo Learning Center, and all we do is just to empower aspiring chartered accountants. I am a chartered accountant myself, and I usually have interesting guests that usually give you so much value to help you in your journey to becoming a chartered accountant. So my guest, my special guest for today is Mr. Prosper Ngwarati. I love Prosper so much, guys. Like, oh my gosh, like I love him so much because we share the same passion. We do have the same passion in learning and development. He's super passionate about learning and development. And whenever I need help, I know he's always around the corner to help to lend a helping hand to our aspiring chartered accountants. So for now, let's hand over to you, Prosper. Please tell our viewers, who are you, and where are you in life? Just all the nice things, like just a peek in your background so that we can know who you are.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Zanele. It's actually a pleasure for me to be here on one of your series. And yeah, I'm very excited. Thank you so much for that. So just a little bit about myself. I don't actually know how to introduce myself, but I'll try. So my name is Prosper Ngwarati. I am a second year audit assistant at one of the mid-tier audit firms. In the top 10 globally. And I've been through academia. I've always had a passion in academics. I move with one mantra, which is, if you are not adding value, you are stealing value, which is why I'm here working with Zanele Novalo, because we believe in adding value. So just a bit about myself. I studied at Monash University, South Africa. From 2015 to 2017, I was pursuing the comm accounting degree, which I managed to graduate with distinction, with God's grace. I proceeded in 2018 to study the postgraduate diploma in accounting, which is CTA at Monash as well. And I managed to graduate there in the top 5 overall. And it was my first attempt. And that was because I had amazing mentors and lecturers. And because of that, I just fell in love with lecturing. And then in 2019, I was hired to become an academic trainee at Monash, where I was assisting third years. So I've been setting quite a lot of papers. Even now, I'm busy developing papers for other institutions for different modules. My tasks involved the nature of marking, the nature of lecturing and tutoring, mainly management accounting, corporate finance, and auditing from second year units to third year units as well. And I would also assist in postgraduate diploma in accounting where I could. And I was also a lecturer for management accounting, which is MANAC 2 and MANAC 3 for one semester. I took full classes for lectures and tutorials. So yeah, lecturing is part of my life. Auditing is part of my life. I'm currently writing my board exam, the APC, the second one this year as well. I did my ITC in January 2019, just after my CTA. So yeah, that's about me. If you want to know where I'm from originally, I'm from Zim. I come from Harare. I came to SA just chasing the CA dream. When I was in high school, I knew I was going to be a chartered accountant, and my dad told me to pick, an institution in a country where I would like to be. And upon my research and looking at the CA profession in South Africa, I was like, South Africa is the place to be. So I'm very, very happy to be here.
And I'm so glad you came to South Africa because that's where I met you, Prosper. And this has been an interesting journey because honestly, you are one of the most smartest people that I know. So obviously, you're getting your BCom in distinctions. And I think over and above that, you are one of the most hardworking people I've
Thank you.
ever met as well. And that is why, I'm always trying to get close to you because I do believe that as people, we have to surround ourselves with people who are smarter than us, with people who are even pushing way beyond than we are even trying to. So I am super,
Hmm.
super grateful for actually getting to know you. So
Thank
when
you.
it comes to when you look at what the students are doing, right, especially the undergrads, because you mostly spending time with the second years and the third years, especially when it comes
Hmm.
to management accounting, because that's why we are here today. When you look at
Yes.
what the students are doing, before we even get to management accounting, what most of the students do compared to what you were doing as a student who graduated with distinction, what is the one thing that you think you did so well that led to your success of actually getting your BCom in distinction?
That would definitely be consistency. Most of the
Mm.
students are not consistent in the way, they tackle the modules. So I understand that they try to put themselves under pressure and study very, very hard just before the assessments, but then they are not living up to their full potential. Whereas on my side, I used to be consistent, like starting from day one. I'll look at the module guide, module outline, and yeah, I'll definitely plan my semester, I'll plan my year based on that. So since day one, I was consistent. That means I didn't work as hard as other people because I used to sleep before the assessments. Like I would properly rest. And my friends would ask, like, how is it possible that you still top the class and you were sleeping last night when we were writing? And I would tell them that, well, you guys were playing since we started, and I was doing my work consistently bit by bit, and I was taking time to digest it. I was taking time to understand what was going on, to iron out all the kinks that I had. So by the time I wrote assessments, I was fine. I was okay. So it's definitely consistency.
Oh my word. I love that so much. I love that so much because most of the times, with our degree, like everything is so overwhelming. So
Hmm.
most of the times when people are overwhelmed, they tend to not take any action at all up until it's
Yeah,
last minute and it's like they're trying to do everything. So I like the fact
exactly.
that you identify that, you know what, I have potential. And that's the thing, in as much as like you are the most, you are the smartest, you are one of the most smartest people that I know,
Hmm.
the truth is that most of us, because we are accepted in this degree, we have that potential to actually do way more, right? But then
Exactly.
at the
Yeah.
beginning, in day one, like you said, most of the time we don't get to that point where we're like, you know what, I'm gonna unlock my full potential. And this is what
Exactly.
I love most about you because every environment where you're in, you seem to be like the best one. Like when I was lecturing at Monash, you were like the
Yeah.
last one to leave in the corridor, even though you're an 80. When we were
Yeah.
marking, you had like the most scripts and you would finish in time. And even
Yeah.
now, when you go to your training firm, what you
Hmm.
started doing is helping the CTA students as well. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, you are constantly breaking barriers and you are just constantly, living out your full potential. And this is a
Hmm.
topic for another day, but I know you are also one of the best singers that I've had on my WhatsApp stories whenever I'm passing. I'm like, oh my God, Prosper is so good. So I like the fact that because of this whole thing of like being consistent, starting from day one and unlocking your full potential, you also get
Hmm.
time to actually engage in other things as well. Because I know
Exactly.
you've also started your company, but that is a conversation for
For
another
another
time. So
day.
for
Yeah.
now, if people want to find out more about you, obviously we'll tell them at the end where they can reach out to you. But
Hmm.
then let's get into this video. I just wanted people to know that, you are like one of those people who like, you are younger than me, but I do look up to how you living everything. Like I'm always inspired by how you are moving. So that's why I just wanted to like, let people in on what I know about you. But let's get into management accounting. So most
Mm-hmm.
of the students have been coming to me being like, oh my gosh, Zanele, like I really can't get through management accounting. For some reason, I'm not doing it, especially the undergrads, especially the second years and the third years. And I was like,
Yes.
don't worry, I got you. I got Prosper. And then I asked them to send through some of the questions of like, what they're struggling with. And most of them
Mm-hmm.
were the same, like, like your standard costing, like mostly costing. They were saying that they're struggling with it. And what I
Mm-hmm.
found is that when I was asking them what they're struggling with, most of the time they didn't have, like they couldn't really explain what they're struggling with. And I really
Exactly.
do think it gets back to what you were speaking about. You said that as a student, most of the time, you took time to engage with the content. You took
Mm-hmm.
time to iron out any kinks in advance so that you know
Yeah.
that towards the exam season, it's just touch up there. So
Yes.
the purpose of the video today is for you to just let us in on, from the student who was doing so well in management accounting, as well as from the lecturer's perspective now, because you keep on lecturing the second years and third years, and you keep on
Mm-hmm.
marking for them, you keep on setting papers for them. I
Mm-hmm.
just wanted to know, what are the top 5 blind spots when it comes to management accounting? Because other people, like, for example, if I'm giving advice, because I love financial reporting, so that side I don't come to management accounting. But then whenever people are like, Zanila, how do I tackle management accounting? I'm just like, just practice. But then I'm looking forward to actually getting to know what are the blind spots that other than just generally practicing. But I'm sure you are going to step into practice as well, because it is a big component. But then I just really, really, really want to know, when it comes to the blind spots on management accounting, which ones would you say they are there and most of the students just don't see them?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you so much. That topic is actually quite long and it's quite deep. And I'll try to just give the students like a bird's eye view from how I see it, because I've experienced the classroom on both places. I've been a student and I've also been a lecturer. So yeah, I've experienced both. So basically, it starts from the beginning, pre-semester, before we actually start the unit. Um, you know what they say when they're always saying that attitude determines your altitude. That is very true. Students already have a negative perception about cost and management accounting before they even start the unit. And this comes from various places, from other students who've done the unit before, maybe somebody who is repeating the unit. Yeah, and then they just tell the others that beware of management accounting. Management accounting is just so difficult. It's extremely difficult. You cannot pass it on first attempt. It is impossible. Once you develop an attitude like that, then we already have a problem. The chances of you passing a unit that you are not passionate about, they are very slim. And I mean, this is logical, because anything in life, if you're not passionate about what you're doing, chances are you're not going to be very, very good at it. You have to be passionate about what you're doing. So first, you need to develop a positive attitude towards the unit. The unit is challenging, but it is not impossible. It is not extremely difficult. It just needs a certain level of discipline and understanding before you can jump into it. So like I was saying, the students just jump into cost and management accounting in week 1. They haven't even gone through the module guide. They have never seen the unit guide. They don't know what we are doing from the first week until the week that they finished. And what I've realized is, in cost and management accounting, we have certain topics that are like, I would say, cornerstones. So the whole management accounting, cost accounting stands on those principles and concepts. So if, for example, you haven't looked at your module guide and you don't know how the lecturer is going to be teaching in terms of the topics, and then you take the textbook and you try to study from the textbook directly without the module guide, chances are you're actually going to start with, for example, relevant costing, but you haven't even covered the basics of costing. So what is costing? What is product costing? What are the different types of costs that are there? Because the whole costing revolves around understanding costs. So there are those certain topics that students need to get into detail. They need to understand before. So I suggest that first, just have a positive attitude about the unit. go through your unit guide before you begin. Just know kind of the structure that we are taking, because costing builds, the topics build on each other. So when you're making decision making, first it means you understand what contribution is. If you understand what contribution is, it means you also understand what variable costing is. You understand what absorption costing is. These are like the basics and the fundamentals. So now if you're just going to study in any random order, you are definitely going to have a problem, which is what most of the students actually do. And
I agree. Before you
yeah,
get to your next point, I agree, Prosper. And most of it is due to the fact that, you know, students will be missing the classes and they'll be trying to cut corners. So because they're
yeah,
trying to cut corners, they're just like, okay, I'm just going to open my textbook and try to figure it out. And I
yeah,
love the fact that you are emphasizing that, you know, with any structure, there's a foundation. And, you know, if that is not set, then, you know, what's going to happen? And on top of that, if the right attitude is not there, then it's going to be a disaster. So thank you for that.
exactly. Yeah, yeah, thank you. So jumping on to the next point, after the semester has started, now we are in the semester in terms of the classes and everything. I've actually realized that our students do not prepare. So the concept of pre-reading does not exist to them. You can get away with that in first year, you know, and still get distinctions and credits and even HDs without pre-studying. But before you come to a management accounting lecture, you're supposed to do some work at home. The reason is we cover so many concepts in detail in the lecture. And if all these things are like foreign to you, then if you miss one thing, if you don't understand one thing when I'm doing an example, you are lost for the whole lecture. That's 2 hours or 3 hours that you have wasted sitting in the lecture because you missed one part of the lecture. So our students actually need to pre-read. Pre-reading doesn't mean that you're going to spend 50 hours teaching yourself, but it means you're familiarizing yourself with the content. So already when you come to class, you know what the learning objectives are. Most lecturers provide the material before the lecture, so the slides are always there. The material is available to you, and you know it's up to you to use it to your best of advantages. So that's one thing that I just want to like encourage the students and let them know that you are supposed to pre-read. Okay, you're supposed to write your own notes. You write your notes once, and you don't have to write notes every single year. For example, when you do costing A, which is cost and management accounting for second years, mostly at most institutions. Once you write your notes, because these are the basic founding principles, you still use the same notes in third year, probably still use the same notes in CTA because the principles remain the same. They never change. It's just the depth of the questions that are being asked that changes, but the principles remain the same. So, you know, I see that most of our students are struggling, especially when I'm mentoring CTA students, for example. I see that they lack the fundamental basics from second year. And then I ask them if they even take notes. None of them have notes. So every time they want to study something, they have to go back to the textbook and then now spend 5 hours on one topic instead of just documenting their stuff in an order that works for them. So that's one of the things again.
I like that. Because let's say someone is watching this and it's already the end of the semester and they haven't been pre-reading, but rather they've been making notes. I like the emphasis that, the notes that you've made are already sufficient. Because I've seen students whereby, it's like they've made the notes, but then towards the exam, they want to read and make other notes again on the very same topic, of which you're already wasting time because the material that you have already compiled is sufficient. So I really like that. Okay, thanks for that.
Yeah. And also when they are in class, because I engage with my students quite a lot, like I don't have classes where I just present. It's actually an interaction like what we are doing now, because I want to understand how the students are thinking, where their thought process is at, so that, I can help them effectively. But I've seen that most students, I don't know if it's because they are scared or what is going on, but mostly it's because of lack of preparation. So they don't actually know what to ask because they haven't prepared for the class. So they're just there in class and they are not engaging. If you're not engaging with the lecturer, the tutor, with the content, you are definitely in big trouble. Okay, you're gonna have to study 20 hours a day now just before the exam to understand basic things that you were supposed to understand in week 1, in week 2, in week 3. So that also links with actually working in groups. That's something that helped me a lot. As students, I just want to encourage you on this video, because I've been given the platform, that you are not in competition with each other. Okay, in the real world, you are not in competition for jobs with the people around you. Okay, so you keep information to yourself, you keep knowledge to yourself, but sometimes what you are keeping is actually poison. And then you keep that stuff, you go and write it in the exam, and then you fail the exam. But working in groups, don't make the groups too big. They must be, small enough that you can control them, because you can't have a group of 10 people. Usually I would suggest a group of between 2 individuals to 5 individuals max that really work together. You discuss questions, you give yourselves tasks, and hold each other accountable. That's the best way to deal with cost and management accounting, because most of the stuff is going to be calculations. You're actually going to be working through the stuff. So if you can explain something to someone, then you truly understand that thing. You can pass a unit, but if you can't explain it or teach somebody the unit, then also you don't really understand the unit. So because our students don't work in groups, they are also stealing value from themselves, in the sense that they won't reach their full potential. So if me and my knowledge, which is equivalent to 30% of the paper, join with you, and you have 40% of the paper, together we have 70%, and we can pass the paper, but individually we fail the paper.
Love that. So, love that. And I'm always saying it, collaboration versus competition, Prosper. Like, that's why we have the Novel or WhatsApp groups, because I'm like, yes, y'all are from different universities. Like, we have like different universities across the world, and you have, yes, all first years, all second years. And I'm like, mingle, like, ask the questions, work together, because and I love that analogy when you're saying, it might be poison. Whatever you're keeping might be poison, because you might even be thinking that you know the right stuff, and only find out in the exam when the marker is, when the lecturer is marking you, that actually, no, what you've been thinking is totally wrong. But had you explained it, had you, discussed it with your peers, they would have been like, nah, Sam, mate, this is where, you have to change this, you have to change that. So I really, really, really like that, because I also do believe that you know something way better if you can teach it. Because sometimes, and that's the thing, like, especially when it comes to like discussion questions, that's where you see that most of the students are not engaging with the content. And you spoke about, you said you need to engage with the content, you need to engage with the lecturer, and you need to be engaging with the tutors as well as your peers. So most of the time, what usually happens, especially if you are becoming frustrated as a student, is because of the fact that, first of all, you are studying, but you're studying, you're not engaging with it. It's like you try to take it in. And because of the fact that you are not engaging with it, that's when you don't know whether what you're keeping is working for you or it's not even working for you. So I love the fact that you are emphasizing the engagement part of it, because that's what learning is. Learning is not just memorizing. That's a totally different thing. And especially in our field, memorizing it doesn't work at all, because you always have a different scenario. We'll be testing a different principles will be the same. But when it comes to like, if you're going to just, memorize and not engage, that's going to be a problem. So I really, really, really love this. And I love your tip on accountability as well, because it gets to that point where a student is so behind and you're feeling like, if I reach out to other people, they're going to laugh at me because maybe I'm still on module 3 or whatnot. But then you realizing that you engaging with other people and holding each other accountable will actually speed up the process. Because if you're alone, most of the times it's only going downhill. So I really, really like that tip.
Yeah.
Do you have any other tips for us?
Yeah. The other thing, I would say, it is the most important thing that you have to note in cost and management accounting. And Zanelli just mentioned this thing. It is practice. You see, I've realized that most of my students, the people that I used to to mentor, because I was mentored. You see, when I help students, when I assist students, because of the limit in my time, I usually take the ones that really think it's impossible, or the ones that are hopeless. Like, students would tell me that maybe for test one they're 3%, or they've been doing the unit for the previous 3 years, or something like that. And then I try to analyze what is going on, and I realize that they fail to practice enough. They do not practice enough. Okay. Coming to tutorials unprepared, or not coming at all, is not going to cut it for you. It is not going to cut it for you at all. Here's the thing: when I'm presenting in the class, when I go through a solution with you, I usually create the solution from scratch with you. You think that, oh wow, yeah, that doesn't seem so difficult, I can do that. I would have been able to do that, because you didn't practice, you didn't do it yourself at home. So you don't actually know what you were struggling with. You don't even know what to ask me as the tutor or the lecturer in class, because you're not practicing enough. The tutorials themselves are not even enough. Get questions from your peers. That's why you have the Novalo group, from other institutions. You guys are going to be chartered accountants. That's why we write the same initial test of competence. We write the same APC, everybody, because our knowledge is supposed to be the same. Okay, so practice a lot. And I always say that practicing is not in the hope that you see the same question. Okay, I set papers, I develop papers. It doesn't work that way. Okay, if I set a paper now, that is done. Once that is tested, that is tested. But I still test the same principles. But the structure of the information, for example, is completely different. I'll test the same principle for you in a paper and in another paper, and like the information looks completely different. It looks completely different. So make sure that you practice enough. Do not go to tutorials unprepared. You are just robbing yourself of, valuable marks that you can get, because you're not learning anything. So you are supposed to practice until you are comfortable with the topic. If you get new questions from your peers from other institutions, and you still can't get 70% on first attempt, you are not yet comfortable with the topic. You are not yet comfortable with the topic. You need to be at a place where you are comfortable with the topic and say that you can give me any question. I really understand these principles. Okay, the information is going to be in different formats. So the students are supposed to understand that. Don't just crunch numbers. That's not going to work for you in costing. You cannot crunch numbers. You literally have to understand the concepts. So just because you crammed the tutorial, and then you come and write the test, because now you understand the tutorial, because I recorded the tutorial, I was showing you my Excel workings, and you crammed that, does not mean you're going to pass the test. This is why you failed the test, because you were just crunching numbers. You don't understand the concepts. You haven't practiced enough. Everything comes with practice, and that's the truth about cost and management accounting. You can understand all the theory there is to understand in cost and management accounting. You can finish studying Drury, like you can study Drury inside out. But if you don't practice those examples, if you don't understand them, then you're still going to be in the same boat with people who didn't study at all. So that's the other blind spot that the students have.
I totally agree. I always say, and I got this from Dave, the other lecturer as well. Practice is a doing word. Like it's it's a verb. Like it's a doing word. You have to do it. You can't, because most of the times it's like we forget, because obviously when you see Prosper doing it, it's so easy because everything is adding up. You're like, oh, okay, I get it. Up until you get to that point where I call it reliable feedback. You need to be at a point where you have the reliable feedback for yourself. And you don't get the reliable feedback by just going through a textbook or looking at someone and thinking, I can do it. You get the reliable feedback by actually attempting a question under exam conditions, and then actually being like, okay, I really don't know this, or I know this, or I don't know this, So with regards to that one, because you are saying that, the students should be going to the tutorials prepared. There are other universities who are almost done with the syllabus. I know, like, because of COVID, the universities are all started now. Others are writing late, others have written, others are about to write as well. So let's say you have a student, just like the students that you've been attempting to assist, the ones who've lost hope, who've done management accounting for like 3 times, or they got like 5% for test 1. And let's say they listen to this video and they realize that, okay, the key thing is that I haven't been engaging with my tutorials. So let's say that student, or for example, let's say it's a UNISA student because, you know, they didn't even have the luxury to have a lecture like you, right?
Yes.
Of which I'm not saying UNISA lectures are not always present. Most of them are. I just, actually.
It's just
I
more distance learning. So the students have to take, you know,
more responsibility. So, so let's say you have such a student whereby they're like, okay, I haven't been engaging with my tutorials for management accounting. And now I'm left with like few weeks up until I arrive. And, you know, I would like to salvage a 50 or even a sub for that type of student. Because remember, Prosper, you're an A student, hey? So you have been doing things in such a way where you know that if I do this and this and this, it's gonna work, and you prove to yourself over and over again, and that's why you've been successful in everything, and that's why you're a lecturer, right? But then for everyone else who didn't know that tutorials were this important, especially for management accounting, at this point, let's say someone is left with only about 4 weeks up until they write their management accounting exam, and they haven't been engaging with their tutorials, they haven't been doing their tutorials, they read the whole jury. And they haven't even done, you know, good notes. What would you say such a student should do in order to feel a bit better or a bit more prepared for the exam? We now know they're not going to get a 70, but then they're working towards the 50. What should they do?
Okay, that is a very, very good question. And for students like that, I just want to let them know that there is actually hope. Some of the students that I have taken to assist, like, some of them had been doing the unit for 3 years. One of them, I was helping her for a week, and she managed to pass the unit. And even the lecturer was shocked that she passed because she just did not understand the work at all. Even the student, one of the students had 15% in test 1 and I think 13% in test 2, and they still got enough for the exam to push them to a C, a credit. So it is actually doable. But for those students, I had to create like a completely different structure. This is not the structure that you are supposed to use, but because it's desperate times, it calls for desperate measures. So for students like that, if you're listening today, I want to encourage you that now you have to start with the end in mind. So basically what you do, if you are left with 3 weeks and you haven't been doing all these things that I was mentioning, here's what you do. You take past exam papers, let's say 3 past exam papers. And this is not in an attempt to spot. This is an attempt for you to have an idea of the types of questions, the types of questions that you can expect in terms of the way they are structured, the way, you know, the information is given and stuff like that. And then you just document what you are seeing on those questions. And from what you have documented, the various topics, the way that the questions are structured, even in terms of mark allocations, maybe exams usually have 5 questions of 20 marks, or it's maybe questions of between 15 to 35 marks and stuff like that. I want you to have an understanding of that, because now you are starting with the end in mind, unlike the other students, all right? And I want you to write down the topics, okay? And from the topics, it's impossible that you're struggling with everything. From the topics, I want you to pick the topics that are most important, like the most important topics, because if you're doing cost and management accounting, you can't do cost and management accounting without doing product costing, for example. You can't pass cost and management accounting without knowing relevant costing, without knowing how to make decisions, you know, when we have constraints or, you know, all those different things. And from there, you are now selecting a question that basically covers everything. Most of these questions, normally you don't really find them in the textbooks. They are usually in the form of tests and exams. So you actually select the most difficult questions that you see when you're going through the question banks and stuff. And because your time is limited, you're actually going to select a very, very good question for every single topic that you have identified. And from that, you work through it and you understand what is going on. You will see when you're missing principles. And I want you to go and make notes on the things that you're struggling with, only those things. What you understand, you understand. You don't have to study it again. So if it's like a question that is related to relevant costing, and then you could calculate the contribution that was required from a certain line item. If you're getting the marks, don't go and study that in Drury. Okay, when you go to Drury, when you go to the lecture slides, I actually want you to go straight to the stuff that you're not understanding unless you get it. So when you mark your attempt, you can actually see that I'm not getting this principle, but this and that I can actually get. This structure I can actually get. So now you actually have to focus on the things that you don't understand. Those are the things that, because now you're working smart. Okay. But I just want to emphasize that there are no shortcuts. You have to work very hard. You can easily pass cost and management accounting in 2 weeks. I've helped students who were doing summer school, but the effort they had to put in, I'm not even going to lie to the students. The way they were studying is insane. They had long hours for those 2 weeks. They literally turned into zombies because they were studying at least 12 hours a day. They still passed with great marks, but that's just an excessive level of working. So if you are there now, it means this is crunch time for you, and you really, really, really have to work hard. Like you really, really have to work smart. So you are joining smartness and actually working hard, and you can do it. You can actually do it. But don't just study random things. Now you actually need to plan. If you're not going to plan it and it's 3-4 weeks left, you're going to waste time doing things that are not relevant, things that are not going to give you marks in the exam.
Oh my word, that is so good, Prosper. And yeah, I hope whoever's watching this, they're just gonna, especially that part, if you've been frustrated, like the whole part, like I'm not even gonna repeat all of this, because this is the good thing. Because even with my one-to-one coaches, this is what I teach them. Like when we get to that point where everything is like all over the place, I'm like, okay, end in mind. And I like how when you said end in mind, you started with questions, because when people think, I have to be doing something quickly, what they do is that they go back to just watch so many lecture videos.
Exactly.
And that's not going to help. That's not going to help, because when you are writing an exam, you're not going to watch more videos. What you're going to do, you'll be writing down what you know and what you don't know. So exactly. I really, 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 really like that. And I really like how you even detailed what they should be documenting when they're looking at the past papers. And when you said that when you go back to the tutorials, go for the good ones, especially those big ones that are integrated. That is where the learning is. And I like that emphasis of like, it's not like you are cutting corners, because if you cut corners, we'll see it. You're going to fail it anyway. But then if you are engaging with it and you going with, that whole growth mindset, knowing that, okay, I'm doing this. And remember, like what students don't remember is that it's going to make them feel so uncomfortable because they haven't been doing it consistently. So they will feel uncomfortable. They won't feel like doing it at all. They'll do it. They'll keep on failing the question. But then that's where they'll know that actually I'm doing something. And this they can couple with what you were talking about earlier on, where you were saying, once you are doing this, go and then teach someone else. Because you'll be saying, these are the important topics. And this is what I was struggling with. Okay, friend, let me explain to you, I don't know, this part of standard costing or this part of like relevant costing or whatnot, right? So I really, really, really like that. And the emphasis of it being crunch time. Because if that's the thing, if you haven't been consistent, you can't try to live like an A student who has been consistent. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. You have to understand that you are in different roles, like, own race, own pace. You chose your own pace. And maybe it's because you didn't know, and we are sorry that you didn't know, but now we are giving you the approach. Or maybe it's because you knew, but then there's been so many distractions and all of that. But the key thing is that it's your time to choose whether you still have the excuse of like, oh my gosh, COVID, what, that's why I failed management accounting. Or you're going to say, this is crunch time, I'm going to do what is needed and I'll get the results. So I love that. So just to repeat the points that you've given us, all the 5 greatest tips, and you let me know if maybe there's anything else that you want to add. But I like the fact that you started with attitude. You're like, your attitude determines your altitude. And that's the thing with this entire degree. Like the other time, I had a guest, and the first thing she said was that if you want to be a CA, like firstly, you need to get to that point where you really want to be a CA. If you don't want to be it, then it's not going to happen for you, because everything is not just smooth. And that is exactly what you started with when you touched on the attitude, because we need that attitude, or else everything else is going to go down the drain. And you mentioned the importance of having the foundation, because with costing, I don't want to lie. Like, I don't want to lie. Even with me, when I was doing CTA, when I was preparing for ITC, my notes from second year were the ones that were still helping me. So I really, really like the emphasis on foundation. You can't try to just take it from up there if the foundation is not ironed out. And then you were speaking about the importance of actually pre-reading, especially for the students who are still going to classes now, and they'll be writing exams a bit later. They'll be writing them by December, or others they even push to January. Pre-read, like, yes, it's late, but then it's gonna save you so much time, especially for the new topics that you'll be doing now. It's gonna save you so much time. And you did say that preparation, and in you preparing, also remember that collaboration is key over competition. And you spoke about that engagement, the engagement with the peers, the engagement with the content, the engagement with the lecturers, the engagement with the tutor. I love that. The importance of teaching it. And I'm repeating all of this because even if someone missed it at the beginning of this video, like, they need to get this, that you need to engage with the content. If you are not engaging with the content, if you are not verbalizing the content, if you are keeping it, and I love it when you say that you might be keeping the poison, and you'll only know when you're getting the results that that was all poison. I didn't even understand it, and that's why I'm not getting the results for it. And I love how you also emphasize what we've been saying. Practice is a doing word. If you are not practicing, you are just wishing, right? And lastly, you gave us the survival guide of someone who is, who is writing in a few weeks' time. And, you gave us a good approach on what they can do when it comes to that. So in order to, wrap up everything, is there anything that you want to highlight to the students? Do you have any parting words, Prosper?
I just want to encourage the students that, don't lose hope. The degree is very doable. It needs you to be consistent, okay? It's either you're on your knees praying or you are sitting and studying. You actually have to put in the work. But if you do, like, everything is going to be fine. Don't let anyone lie to you, especially the first years. People are always saying, oh, accounting is so difficult, the professional accounting route is impossible, and all that. I was able to graduate in record time, top of the class even, and I didn't have like all-nighters. I still had the time to do other things. Just like what Zanella was mentioning, I did manage to start my own company. I was doing other things, but I just used my time more effectively and more efficiently. And I just want to encourage all the students to do that. And also, don't forget to check out the video on tips on management accounting, because there, in this video, we didn't cover tips in terms of the assessments themselves, like how you guys fail to, properly manage your time, or you don't know various starting points on different questions. So in as much as you know the stuff, you still fail because, you don't know the different ways in which to approach questions when it comes to management accounting. So you can check Novalo IG, and that video is there. I did it myself. You also find it very helpful. But just be strong. It's going to be worth it. It's all going to be worth it. You don't want to repeat modules. You don't want to repeat CTA. You just want to get it done with immediately. When you have people like Zanele, like, coaching you and showing you, I wish I had somebody like that. Like, I had to experience all of these things myself. There was a Novalo for me, and I had to fail a lot of times. But then, because we failed doing it, like taking longer approaches, seeing that, oh, this didn't really work, I didn't do well on this test, I have to change. Now we have developed the strategies that work, so you don't have to fail like us. You are just supposed to do it, like, completely. Like, it's going to be much, much easier for you. So just make sure you utilize an opportunity like this. And yeah, thank you so much, Zanele.
Awesome, awesome. I like that, Prosper, where you're saying that, we are laying the roadmap. It's all about them following that because we experienced all of this. We had to learn the hard way so that we have all of these lessons. And yes, you do have two amazing videos that you did for us for Novalo on Instagram as well as on our YouTube. So I would encourage our audience to revisit those videos because they have great tips. So in so saying, thank you very much, Prosper. Guys, Prosper is our Novalo contributor, so you'll be seeing, so much of him because he is passionate about helping you, and he is always available to just add so much value. Just like what he said when he began, that it's all about, it's either you're adding value or you're stealing value. You have to decide on which part are you in. And Prosper, for sure, he's always on the other side. So that is why we'll always have him here at Novalo Learning Center. So this is our end of the video. And thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Please like this video and please comment in the comment section. Let us know what you think about these tips on management accounting. And let us know when are you writing management accounting, and going forward, what are you going to do? Maybe you've learned something new. What are you going to do? But then at the end of it all, remember, Prosper said, don't lose hope. It is doable, and we've all been through all of these challenges, and we are here to help. So just stick with us, and it'll all happen. Bye.